What's up, Kevin? Do not be afraid to go in the gym. People are going to laugh, so what? Let them laugh. All right, Paul, you have a good day as well. What's up? Squatting today, yeah. Bench starts tomorrow for me. I'm on a deload this week, so this weekend just kind of hanging out. But the week starts off. I got 480 on the bar tomorrow, so that's going to be pretty fun. I train outside of Houston, Texas. Eccentric training, not necessarily just eccentric. I mean, I don't really favor eccentric versus concentric training, but you need to do both, full range of motion. 531, yes, I have used it. I had a lot of progress in the beginning, and I think every training program is definitely beneficial to everybody at some point in time, or at least can be. Doesn't mean it's always going to be beneficial to you. 531 worked for about 3 years, and then I kind of had to change it up a little bit, more on like a progressive overload, some maximal weights. I did a West Side Conjugate for a while, so I don't do a lot of heavy dumbbell work for bench. I can, but I prefer the barbell. I did the dumbbells when my shoulders were kind of giving me some issues, so it's one of those things where a barbell for me is definitely specific to my training. Yes, I do still swim, not very often, but I try to get in there as much as I can. And I do not take my bar or my own bar to the gym every time. I will when it starts getting heavier because I trust the Texas bar. Let's see, I missed a question. No, I didn't. I'm good. All right. 531. Let's see. Answered that one. How do I do accessories on deload weeks? Basically, it's the same thing I did the previous week. It's just lighter weight. That's really the only difference. Sometimes if the reps are really high on the deload week, I go 3x3 or maybe 5 reps, but pretty much the same. Who is Cassidy Campbell? I'm not sure who that is. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I don't follow a lot of extra people. Thoughts on Smoloff Jr.? Go for it. I've heard a lot of good things. I have tried hook grip on deadlift. I'm actually pretty decent at it, but when it getting really heavy, I just haven't trained my thumbs to handle it. And my what's up, man? My fingers are relatively short compared to my palms, so when I go to grip the bar, I don't have a lot of extra length on the finger there, so it can be a little tougher. But I've definitely tried it. But I've gone 771 with over under, and I don't ever have a problem with the biceps. Don't plan on it either. But at this point, I am going bench only, so I'm not really worried about deadlift technique and grip right now. Just staying pretty light. Hit your triceps as often as you hit your upper body, maybe even twice, like 2 different exercises per upper body day. I do it twice a week. I hit triceps 4 different ways, in addition to my close grip bench. Sure, I would do a collab with powerlifters. Absolutely. Switching back and forth, YouTube, Instagram. Do you have to deload? You don't have to deload, but if you got to rest at some point, and what works for me is taking 3 days off a week to not touch the weights, and then taking the 4th week as a deload. And that's where I basically go about 75% or so of the previous week. Gives myself a chance to recover, and I feel pretty good going forward. 700 bench will be at the end of this year or beginning of next year, as long as I can stay healthy and training goes well. Showcasing, yes, I will be in the animal cage this next year. Not sure what I'm going to do. I'm open to suggestions. We'll see whatever happens around that time. If I'm doing a meet just before it or right after it, probably it will be after the meet, which would be a good thing to do. I'm not sure after 700 plus. It's kind of up in the air. Not really sure what the plan is yet. Good rep range when peaking. Well, when you're peaking, you're trying to get rid of the fatigue, so you want to go less reps, more weight. Maybe keep your accessories going pretty high until about 2 or 3 weeks out, and then cut those down a little bit. Go heavy on them, but cut the rep range down, and then last couple weeks work on some singles. That's a pretty decent peaking strategy. Let's see. I've heard some criticize low volume, but that's supposed to really assistance work. Low volume. Here's the thing: when you're doing heavy or a lot of volume in the strength phase, you're you're fatiguing yourself, where you're never really able to put on the weight that you would like to put on each week. So if you're doing a bunch of reps, you're fatiguing yourself to either, let's say you go in and do a set of 5, and then all of a sudden, set of 5 of whatever weight, and then you drop the weight down and you do a bunch of freaking reps. Well, sure, you might be able to do that, but you're going to need to recover that much longer. You still need to recover from the work you did. And then if you need to come in the next week and hit another set of 5 that's heavier the next week, more than likely that volume set push you over the top, and you're going to need a couple extra days rest. You're not going to be ready to go heavier on that 5 set. So that's kind of my theory on it. It doesn't work for me, but you want to separate volume versus your strength phases for sure. Strength level. Let's see. What kind of strength level were you using, Westside? I'm not sure what you mean by strength level. I was a sub 600-pound bencher when I was doing Westside Conjugate. I was using a lot of bands and chains, which I still like to this day. I just didn't like how the Westside Conjugate would have me going like a 1 rep more often than I would like. I think I really, for myself, I will get a lot more out of going longer phases of hypertrophy and strength, and then building up to a peaking phase, and then doing a 1 rep maybe once every 6 months. I get a lot out of that. Max Juarez Valley push-ups in the cage? No, I don't think so. I hopefully those will be coming out of the program pretty soon. I'm not gonna lie, I hate those, but they do work. I just don't like them. I don't think you ever get used to liking those. Yes, I do like dead bench. The way you do dead bench, and everybody does it the same way. That's what a dead bench is you set up in a squat rack, and you go, you push from the pins up, and then let it come back down and rest back on the pins. It never touches your chest. You can do these from any level. Typically, you want to start about 1 inch or so below your sticking point, or maybe you want to do like a lockout, which is the same setup. It's just called a lockout because you're working on your lockout. But you do them in heavy singles, and you only do singles. You never do reps, and you relax between each rep. That way you can reset. Let's see. Floor press or incline? I would go with incline. How much a week should you bench? It's up to you. I see guys that benefit from 2 times a week up to 3 times a week. If you do much more, I think you're kind of short-circuiting your recovery. Of course, I go super heavy on my heavy days, so to go twice a week super heavy for me is a no-go. Floor press really doesn't matter if it's legs up or down, honestly. I think it's really just preference, because you really aren't supposed to get any kind of leg drive for floor press. You're not really going to get leg drive. All right, man, take it easy. Any tips for reducing soreness after a hardcore session? Well, you can sit in an ice bath. You can do heat. You can do ice. A little bit of light stretching, and I mean light. I wouldn't go into any crazy stretching because your muscles are already fatigued. Definitely get some BCAAs in there, protein, and a meal. Best recovery method after getting sore from work. Well, it's pretty much just covered that. Yes, specialty bars definitely have a place. Let's see, Jesse. As far as dips versus what do I think has helped increase my bench the most? Um, I would say rows, back rows of all variants, and dips for sure. Best way to recover from a pec tear? Well, you definitely don't want to work it. You want to recover. You want to rest from it. Um, you want. I would ice it for sure. That would take away a little bit of the pain. Hopefully, it's not like an actual. Oh, you said slight tear. Okay, complete tear. You're gonna need to go take care of that at the doctor. I would not work that thing out until it starts to feel a lot better, and then slowly get back into it. The last thing you need is to tear it worse. I deload it once every 4 weeks, or yes, once every. Well, I work out hard 3 weeks, take the 4th week as a deload. And no, I have not used the cube method. Floor press or military press? Two totally different things. Let's see what I miss. All right, 808 deadlifts. Take it easy. What's up, Agaripa? How many grams of protein would you say enough to? Honestly, I don't count it. I go off of feel, and I go off of. I mean, obviously, I just go off of performance. If I'm not performing well, then I can kind of figure it out. But 1 to 1.5 grams is about average for anybody that's really, really working out. 1 to 1.5 per body weight, pound of body weight. Bonjour in France. Yes, I do get nervous before heavy workout. Always get nervous before heavy workout, but it's a good nervous. It's an actual controlled nervousness. If you're not getting nervous, then it's probably not heavy enough for you. And I say that lightly. I think, I put a meme out there one time being funny, and somebody was like, "Oh, you're going to hurt yourself that way." Well, obviously I'm not going to hurt myself because I'm smart and I'm not going to lift like that. But I have my weight set. Like, for example, I'm a little bit nervous for tomorrow's 480 by 8. I've done it many times before. I've done it 500 for that many. I've done more than that for that many. But if you don't bring the intensity, if you don't start planning the day before, you're not going to have a good workout, or at least not as good as you could. Thoughts on West Side conjugate protocol for bench? I've done it. I did pretty well on it. I prefer what I'm doing now, which is more of a progressive overload. It's a custom method. I'm working with Josh Bryant on it. Nothing against West Side. I just don't personally think it was benefiting me the way I thought it could, to the weight, or to the intensity, to the speed that I was willing to move forward. I didn't like the way that I would have to kind of do my 2 rep max, 1 rep max, kind of somewhat randomly. I like more of a pyramid style training method, and so that's what I'm on now. So I basically start planning 6 months out, and I build a base, and I come up and lower the weights as I go forward, versus kind of sporadically throwing in a max effort day, speed day, dynamic day kind of thing. It's always and at this point, it's pretty heavy all the time. It's just not maxing out. I do not like pull-ups, but I'll do the heck out of pull-ups. Should you reach a certain level of strength before you put deloads in your program? No. I've got guys that I train that I put deloads in right away, regardless of if they got 135-pound bench and they're 180-pound guy or a woman. Deloads are part of, or should be, I think, part of every strength program. It's natural. I mean, when you technically, I wouldn't go as far as saying this, but if you think about it like this, let's just say you go work out, and then you, yeah, man, you appreciate it. And then let's say you go work out, and then you decide that you're going to stay up all night, drink alcohol, and not eat protein, not take your vitamins, not do BCAAs, not eat right. You're not allowing your body to recover. So you're short circuiting and you're shortchanging yourself for all the stuff that you need to do or that you should do in order to get better at what you're doing. Deloads is just a way of basically letting your body recover, just like at night when you sleep. When you're deloading, you're allowing your body, to come back from any kind of injuries or tweaks. You're not constantly banging it and killing yourself. For example, last week I did 465 for a set of 8, and it was not very hard at all. I didn't mess anything up. I don't feel like my shoulders are, I feel like I'm still sub max for my training. And I don't feel like I'm pushing it as hard, or my body's not suffering, I guess, as hard as it will later in the season. But I still take a deload, which this last week I did 350 for a set of 5 times 2. Now it was pretty easy. The weight was pretty easy, but I still felt 350 pounds. It still kind of sucked. Even though it was easy, it was just, I was in an uncomfortable state. I didn't want to be there. It was more of a, I'm going in to make sure that I'm keeping the blood flow. I'm keeping the regimen, the routine going. But next week, I'm going to add 130 pounds to the bar. And more than likely, it's going to feel, it's going to feel like 480 pounds, but it's not going to feel real good. It's not going to feel pleasurable. Hey, I've got 480 pounds in the bar. I'm going to be working. So I'm breaking down the muscle. So the next week when I go 10 pounds heavier or 20 pounds heavier, every week I get a little bit more fatigue built up. Well, at some point I've got to let off that excess pressure, if you will. And if I don't, it's going to build up to the point to where it's going to cause a tweak or an injury. And that's the point of a deload, is just to kind of let that excess pressure out before it blows up too much. And sometimes you don't even know that you've got a tweak coming on, or that you potential injury. You get into the zone, you start working out, you're doing shoulders or legs or whatever, and all of a sudden you feel something. You're like, "Ooh, what is that?" And it could have been there 2 weeks prior, but you were in the zone hitting your workout, and you had no idea that something that had happened. And when you're on a deload, you're allowing yourself to recover and kind of catch up. 480 pounds will be for 2 sets of 8. Supplements, I use all animal stuff, as you can see back there, or back there on YouTube. It's proteins, BCAAs. I've got the juiced aminos, the Rage, the Fury pre-workout, Flex, Omega, PM, Animal Pack, vitamins, of course. Best exercise for a week lockout is actually doing lockouts or in a squat rack with pins set up. Not a question. Say that your videos are by far the best. I appreciate that, man. I just put out information as however it is. If you guys can use it, then awesome. It's nice to have great feedback like that. I appreciate it. Iron Dead, let's see. So your bench has stayed the same for quite a while. Which programs, exercises, or programs have you ever used to avoid plateaus? Well, plateaus are typically because your body's either used to whatever your stimuli you're putting on it. It's used to the rep set. It's used to the weights. It's used to the way you're progressing. And it's not going to respond anymore or as fast as you want to whatever you've currently been throwing at it. So you got to do something different. Typically it's in training, change up your rep scheme, lighten the weight, go more reps, make the weight heavier, go less reps, maybe just throw in an extra set here and there. Let's say you can do 3 sets of 8. Well, do a set of 10, and if you can't do another set of 10, do a set of 8. Just that extra rep that you're able to maybe get in without hurting yourself is still progress. We got to stop kind of thinking about in terms of the weight itself. Let's say this week you're able to do 245 or 200 pounds for a set of 10. Next week doesn't mean you have to do it for 11. You might be able to go, for a set of 10, and then a set of 8, and then a set of 6. you get more reps and you got 14 additional reps in without having to do another set of 10. And then maybe the next week you do a set of 10, a set of 8, and then another set of 8. So you're not changing it up drastically, and that's just the main set. But let's say, it could be accessory wise. You might want to do an extra set of accessory, or let's say tricep on weighted dips. You're able to do 50 pounds one week, for a set of 10. Well, the next week, try set 11. Or if you need more volume, do, set of 10 and then a set of 8. And then the next week, maybe add in a set of 6. So you're adding more reps, more volume, or more weight at some point. You're progressing, you're adding something to your workouts every single week. Now, it could be that you need to add deloads into your programming. Maybe you're not allowing yourself to rest. Maybe you need to rest more at night. Maybe you need to eat right. Maybe you need to take out some accessories. Maybe you're actually doing too much in your workout. I see a lot of guys that just throw in everything they can possibly find into a program, and they spend 4 hours in the gym literally constantly doing something nonstop, but they're not doing one thing specifically, or maybe 4 or 5 different exercises very, very specifically. They're doing 20 exercises and they feel like, oh, I'm just a beast. I'm coming here and tearing everything up. But really, they're not doing anything but hurting themselves and not allowing themselves to progress. That's where the programs come in. And it allows you to limit yourself without limiting yourself to a plateau. But hit me up, on my website, swimhack@gmail.com, through email, or DM on Instagram at swimhack. Tell me kind of what you're doing. If you guys are having issues with your programming. I mean, I'm not an expert on all the programs out there, but I can pretty much decipher what you're doing and figure out why you may not be moving forward. Of course, I've helped a lot of people with my programs and my customized coaching and stuff to move past some plateaus. And it's not rocket science, but sometimes you just need an extra set of eyes and ears just to kind of look at and just kind of see, hey, this is something maybe you are doing, which maybe if you just take it away, it actually makes it better. Or maybe if you add something in, it makes you better. But I'd be glad to help any way I can. Bands and chains for lockouts, absolutely. They'll help you with a little bit more of a now for actual lockouts, if you're doing full range, sure, because it'll add some more weight, when you're further up. But for the actual lockout pin press, it's probably a waste of time because you're not going to have that much time or that much distance for those chains or those bands to really provide a lot of extra resistance. Just jumped on Instagram, resting between sets on your 24-week program. All right, man. Let me know how you're doing. Close grip. I think close grip is better for me personally because I can utilize my triceps and I can really protect my shoulders. It is just a personal preference mostly on, my grip width. Nope, not taking the shirt off. Sorry, man. $20. PayPal me $20. The wife says. Hey, if anybody's in Houston and has an SUV they want to sell, let me know. My car is crapped out. Let's see. Skip over here. Pretty sure James said he doesn't use percentages. Yeah, I don't use percentages at all. Even in my programming, I will start somebody off with percentages. My deloads are based on percentages. Basically, it's pretty easy. If let's say I have 100 pounds on the bar this week for a set of 10, next week my deload will probably be 60 to 75%, which will be 60 to 75 pounds for maybe a set of 5 instead of a set of 10. The next week I go back up and I go probably 110 for a set of 8. It's very simple. It's working, and I'm not going to change anything until it stops working. Everybody is different though, so the program that you may be using or you might be on, you may need to tweak slightly based on what works for you. It's always I don't see any program that works just for everybody. You've got to change some things. Even on my 24-week bench program, some guys will be able to nail every single rep and they need to add a little bit more volume. Some guys will go and they'll try to hit, some of the numbers and they've got to decrease the weight to keep the rep scheme the same. It's just a template. It's going to be fine as long as you keep progressing over time. you may not do, you may not be able to go from week 2 to week 4 and get the same exact weight you thought you would get. But if on week 8 you're still stronger than you were on week 6 and 7, then you've progressed. That's the whole point. I use RPE, but it's mostly just to tell because video sometimes doesn't always give the true story, and perceived exertion is a better way. And of course, you got to take those lightly too, because there's been times when I've seen somebody say it was an RPE 6 when I know damn well it was not an RPE 6. But that's also where your video review and RPEs, you can put the two together and try to figure out. Of course, if somebody says something's an RPE 7 and the next week you go up 10, 20 pounds and it's an RPE 9, it wasn't an RPE 7, depending on the rep scheme. So you can tell by that way as well. But that's where the coaching expertise comes in, and trying to figure out or trying to make sure you're not increasing the weight based on somebody's RPE alone. Elbows untucked early in the bench. What's your weakness? Oh, if your elbows are untucked. Well, typically what I've found is your back, your scapula is not retracted, or it's not staying tight, because your back should be the primary mover when it's coming right off your chest. So if you're doing anything with your elbows, something is not right with the back, and you're trying to overcompensate, is what I've found. If your elbows start moving around, you either not tight in the arms, the elbows, or triceps, biceps, or your back is just not doing its job, and you're not able to get it out of your out of that lower part without elbows trying to at least do something. Which lift do I find more enjoyable, squats or deadlifts? Oh, you would ask me that, wouldn't you? God, I don't know. It's tough. I would say deadlifts are my least favorite, but now they're my favorite because it's my heaviest. But that is really tough. I would say squats, because I really do enjoy I like having the weight on top of me and literally pushing it off me. Deadlifts is not as, I just don't think it's as manly. You can lift a lot of weight, but I think a squat it's make or break. A deadlift, you drop it, you're fine. Squats, you drop it, you're dead. So I would say squats. Let's go with squats. How often do I test my max? Once every 6 months, and don't work off percentages. Sorry, I answered that kind of backwards. For Animal Pack, Jesse, I am taking the pills, only because if I want to take a protein shake, I'm not having to mix like an orange flavored, vitamin drink and then drink 8 ounces more or whatever of a protein shake. I just take the pills, but I do have both in case I want to, do the powder, or if I want to take a pre-workout or something like that. I hit back about 4 to 5 times a week. Rear delts, typically twice a week. I do not have a garage gym. Thought about it, but I don't have any room because I have cars in my garage. Somebody retracted their message. Why you do that? Thoughts on benching every day? I wouldn't do it. Not if you're at any kind of weight, serious weight. Favorite flavor of Animal Flex? I believe they only have orange on Animal Flex for the powder, which that's the only thing that has flavor. Have I been strong from the start? No. I mean, I've always been strong. I guess strong, but not strong like strong I am now. But I think strength starts in your head. Once you kind of determine you're bullheaded or you're strong-willed, that right there is a good start for physical strength. Animal Flex is good stuff. Really good stuff. Benching once a week. I do that. I bench once a week. I'm not real familiar with the Lilly Bridge program, but benching once a week has helped me to go pretty heavy and then still get 100% recovered by the next week, 7 days later, when I'm benching again. Making sure I didn't miss any questions over here. My first bench press was, I mean, from what I remember, it was just the bar, but that was when I was like 8 or 9. And then I remember the next time that I remember an actual bench press was when I was a freshman in high school, and I did 200. That was probably about 175 or so. Have I ever benches miss, and how many reps? King Tiger, I'm not sure. You reword that, I can answer that for you. Any replacement for dips or skull crushers of triceps? Those cause pain in triceps. Try close grip push-ups, close grip bench. You can do some singular, some triceps if you could, if your elbows can handle that. Just look that up. Tricep triceps. Grip width on bench, on dips. It's about 19, 20 inches, depending on, well, it really depends on what I have to deal with, what kind of setup I have to deal with. Some gyms is not really ideal for me, but I'll do it anyways. Some gyms I can get a wider grip and a wider try not to mix up two grips, because I have my grip, my actual the bar grip width, and then I have the width of the actual of my shoulders. Those all matter. If it's too narrow or too wide, or it's hard, especially with the weight that I started getting. It's hard to deal with. Let's see, Tyler, how many times a week does my 24-week bench call for? I'm assuming you mean bench, but basically what it is 2 bench days. One is lighter than the other, like a speed day. One is heavy, and you have a shoulder day. All days include accessories and your weights and reps as well. So basically everything you need, other than what to eat and when to sleep, but it has your deloads programmed in there as well. Elbow sleeves do not help unless they're tight. And even when they're tight, they're not going to give you like a crazy amount. They might give you 10, maybe 20 pounds of weight, if that. We're talking about sleeves. Now, if you're in like a wrap, those will give you 50 to 100 pounds easy. Now, the ones that I use, elbow sleeves, I get them as big as I possibly can. I just want them to serve as almost like a T-shirt over my elbows, just to keep them warm. I don't like them to be tight at all. It restricts me. I don't want any help with the weight. As you guys have seen, I've been able to do, the weight with elbow sleeves, take them off and do the same exact weight. It doesn't bother me at all. But there are guys on Instagram that will post up videos of them doing, weights that they could not do without the sleeves because they're super tight, or they've got multiple layers of sleeves on, or they've got wraps on. So comments on Larry Wheel's unbelievable progress recently. Well, for one, Larry's a young guy. He will recover from training and injuries a lot quicker than some of these older guys will. He's obviously a strong guy. I think a lot of what he's doing lately, though, my honest opinion is he's playing with fire as a lifter. As a power lifter, I wouldn't do that. Now, he is training for bodybuilding as well. I know powerlifting is not his main concern, but I know his main concern is his Instagram popularity, And Instagram and social media and YouTube are all about the likes and views. So if you can post up something that makes people come and watch and stay there and comment and like, regardless of, now I think what Larry's doing is 100% real, but if you post it up with fake weights or you post it up with real weights, it doesn't really matter when it comes to posting it up. So I think, would I do it? Absolutely not. Not at this point, because I've got some goals that are pretty lofty, and I don't want to jeopardize that. I've always been a very cautious type of lifter. Every now and then the ego can kind of jump in and take over, and you want to kind of, you see somebody else do something and you want to do it. I'm not going to lie. I've definitely thought, well, I see, a 450-pound shoulder press, and I know that I could do the same thing, especially if I was training for it. I could get really far up there. I mean, I've just got really bodacious shoulders. But if I hurt myself, and there's a chance for it, regardless of what's going on, then all of a sudden I lose the chance, or potentially lose the chance for a 700 bench, which there's not that many people in history that can say they've done that, regardless of weight class. So I think, would I rather have a 700-pound bench or, a 450-pound or 500-pound shoulder press? That's where it comes out to be. So when it comes down to it, what do I think about his strength progress? I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I wish him the best. Do I think it's the smartest thing in the world to do? No, absolutely not. And I don't think it's a very good example to look at Larry and think that that's an average, that you can just do that, if you think you're strong, because you're going to end up hurting yourself most of the time. How heavy do I go leading into a meet? I get pretty far up there. I get within 10 to 20 pounds typically. This last time around with the full meet, it was a little different. I didn't go quite as heavy. I only got within about 15 pounds on bench. I got within about 30 pounds on squat, deadlift, and I got within 20 pounds on squat. So I like to get pretty far up there, but if you've trained right, you don't have to get right up on your max in order to be able to hit the numbers in the meet. Have I ever benched my wife for fun, and how many reps? It's a fun question. No, I haven't. But if it gets likes and views and I'm not going after an all-time world record, yeah, I would probably do it. 90% is definitely heavy enough in prep. No, I never bleed through my body like Larry. I've never once, in fact, I've never once had a bloody nose or anything of the sort when I'm lifting, ever. Any plans to come to Florida? Not at the moment, no, but never count anything out. I'm going to be looking for a meet close to the end of this year, so we'll see what happens. No thoughts on competing at Record Breakers. I don't even know when that is. I think it's coming up pretty soon, so it's not even in the cards. I think I reached the end of the questions. If I missed your question, please repost it. I got a lot of them coming in. Well, I'll throw in a plug for the bench program since I've had a lot of you guys asking about it. The bench programs, I have anywhere from 8 weeks, which is a peaking program. It's designed to take you from wherever you're at right now to being able to either compete or go for a 1 rep max within the next 8 weeks. And that one's like $29. I've got a 16-week program, which is primarily strength. And that is $60. And of course, you can go straight to the 24-week, which is your best deal. That's $40 off. And that is $60 as well. Normally it's $100. That's a 3-day split. It's 2 bench days, 1 shoulder, complete with accessories, reps, and sets. Everything you need, basically. I do hit back 4 times a week, and that's a combination of either seated rows, lat pull downs, bent over rows, head supported rows. Did I say seal rows? I may not have. Dumbbell rows, as far as barbell seal rows, dumbbell rows, 1-arm rows, just to name a few. But back is a huge component. I hit back pretty much every single day. Just depends on if it's upper or lower. Wrist injuries. No, never have any wrist injuries. You probably won't have any wrist injuries as long as you're not overdoing it. Obviously, wrist straps will help. But one thing I've noticed with bench is a lot of guys will not stack the barbell on top of their wrist. So they'll actually, it'll be, the bar sits here and it's pretty much straight down versus back. If it's back this way or back too much forward, of course that would be weird anyways, you're going to be putting a lot of stress on your wrist. My wrists never, ever, ever hurt because I don't use them that way. The only time that my wrist may hurt is if I'm in a low bar squatting position, and it's just because they're being stretched in a little weird way. But obviously deadlifts, they should be straight up and down, and so should they be on bench. How much do I charge for distant personal training? I mean, not physically, but contact, phone calls, form checks, Instagram. King Tiger or King One Tiger, shoot me an email, swimhack@gmail.com, swimhack, like my username, @gmail.com, and we can discuss what your needs would be. I do have a couple spots that have opened, and I may be able to take on somebody. We can discuss, what your needs are, costs, and all that kind of stuff, and see if that might be a fit for you. Best water brand for building muscle? Earth water. Let's go with that. Anywhere, as long as it's clean and filtered, you're good. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Best water brand. Do you pay attention to any lifters? Any thoughts for doing a full meet again? No meet, no full meets for a while. I don't really care about that, honestly. It's kind of nice not having to train super heavy on squat and deadlift and be able to pay attention to bench. Loosens up my schedule a little bit. I hate to say this, and it's not out of hate. I mean, I follow some lifters, but I really don't pay attention to anybody because I'm not in it for that. I mean, I like watching other lifters and I see how they compete, but it's not like I'm on YouTube just looking at somebody's page trying to figure out how they're doing, what's going on. I know what's going on, but I'm typically a few days behind everybody else. I'm just not a real big news person, and that includes the lifting community. And I say that lightly because it's not like I don't care. I have other things that are at the forefront of my attention, that are in my home, in my life, right in front of me, that I'm not really following anybody particularly. I see crazy lifts. I see Rob Philippus do his thing. I see Pete Rubis do his thing, Larry Wheels. I mean, I see them all and I'm impressed by them. And, I congratulate them, and we're friends. And of course, other animal athletes, Rob Hall and, Jeremy Hornstra, Julius Maddox. And I'm all very much impressed by their lifting, but I think we're all in our own lane. We all do our own thing. I'm not saying that I don't stay up with them. It's not if you ask me what such and such did yesterday, I probably wouldn't know until a few days later. So, hey, Blonde Lion 247, you are thirsty as hell, man. Thank you. I appreciate that you find me sexy. I really do. I really, really do. But I also have my 9-year-old daughter sitting here and my beautiful wife sitting 10 feet away. So if I don't comment on every single one of your compliments, I apologize if that offends you, but I'm sorry, I won't, because it's not really the point of this Instagram and YouTube live. So. David, that's a good point. You say you're not training without a program, thinking more along the lines of Brian Shaw. It's calculated, but no expectation. Now, there's a couple ways to think about it like that. One is you don't have an expectation for the day or for the actual training day. There's also another way of thinking about it, and you don't have an expectation for the next few weeks, where, like, I have an expectation for tomorrow to smash 480 8x2, but I have no idea. I say that lightly. I have an idea, but tomorrow's workout will dictate the following week's weights and reps. And that is a no expectation type of training schedule for me, because, and I know Ed Cohen has a different way of doing it. He will go and say, okay, I have a meet on X date, and he'll put his meet, attempts down, and he'll work backwards. So he'll literally have to plan out his workout regimen, his program, for 6 months at a time. And that will be, his way of doing it. And it obviously worked for him. So everybody's got a little different way of doing it. And nobody's right or wrong. It's what's right or wrong for yourself at that current time. But go for it. Let me know how you do, David. How much is Josh Bryant benching these days? Michael, I'm not sure. I know he's not in the gym doing a lot of powerlifting movements. He does a lot of what he's calling gas station ready, or basically movements that are everyday friendly for fitness. So he'll do a lot of field work. He'll do a lot of pulls, sled drags, some things like that. Even fighting, MMA style fighting, self-defense fighting. So I'm not sure what his bench is. I mean, I could probably say he could do a good 400-pound bench press right now, maybe more, but that's just a guess. Eric Spoto, from what I hear from Stan Efferding, who is not only training with him at the time, or knows, probably, I think he lives by him too, his shoulders were pretty much busted up, and he's out of the game indefinitely. So I think it's just his shoulders got to the point where they didn't like his benching anymore. If I didn't powerlift, what else would you be doing? Well, right now, I do a lot of other things. I run a web design business. I run a coaching business, training. I am heavily into volunteering. I volunteer at about 60 different schools in my kids' school district, including their schools. So I'm implementing a lot of male involvement programs. So powerlifting is literally just one sliver of what I do in life. I would still call it a hobby. But when I do it well, and I do it, I'm not distracted by it. I go to the gym, I take care of my business, and I get out, and then I move on with whatever else I got going on that day. And it's been very effective to do that. I don't eat, breathe, sleep, and live and eat, or try to eat powerlifting like a lot of guys do. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just don't have time for it. I really don't want to either. I like powerlifting, but not that much. Not to be obsessed with it. It becomes an obsession to chase certain goals, and I'll put everything into it. But it's not like I wake up and I think I have to go to the gym right now. I think, okay, can I fit the gym time into my schedule, and what time and when can I do this? Because I've got some other important things to take care of. So, but if I didn't powerlift as far as a sport, I would either be swimming, playing football, I don't know, something. I do not train forearms directly. Yes, the 24-week bench program does include back. One exercise 4 times a week for back. I would not do one exercise 4 times a week for back, but if you had to, I would probably do something along the lines of lat pull downs or seal rows. But I would definitely do more than one exercise for your back. You got to hit it. My back program, 4 times a week on back. And aftermath of soreness, kind of touched on that earlier. Basically, I would jump in an ice bath, put some ice on it. I'm not opposed to taking ibuprofen or Aleve for a little bit of the pain. There's no issues with there being any kind of, losing your gains or muscle protein synthesis. I mean, it's all crap. I've taken Aleve and had fine recovery afterwards. All right, man. Have a good one. Chris, let's see. Buying your program, are they custom to the individual? Do you answer questions I might have via email? I will answer questions all day long. So regardless of if somebody's buying a program or what, I think everybody, well, I know everybody can vouch because there's not one question, unless it's like a troll question, that I have not answered. It might take me a day or two to get to you, but I will answer every question regardless of who you are, what you're doing. I don't care if you're coached by somebody else. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to answer questions. Now, that might change as I get more followers, but at this point, I can handle the workload, and I will continue to do so. But as far as being custom, the program is not custom. I can provide a program that is custom, but the program that the 8-week bench peaking cycle and the 24 and the 16 week, the numbers are pretty much based on your max right now, or your 5-rep max right now. You can change it up, and I can give you some tips going forward, but I'm not going to change the program for you because it is pre-written, and that's why it's as cheap as it is. But if you need something more custom, I mean, I've done customized 12-week programs without coaching or without video coaching for a fair price. And I can also do full-fledged coaching, virtual online coaching with video review and all that kind of stuff. You obviously get a little more attention than just an email here and there. I'm going to critique everything that you do and talk about your form and things like that. But general questions, I'm always answering. But thanks for asking that, Chris. Yeah, David, I agree. I mean, that's the nature of the game. I mean, I say that, but I think everybody could be a little smarter in their approach to training. I think we all have our dumb moments where it only takes one injury to make something either go away or make it to where you're not able to lift like you were at one point in time ever again. And that is my biggest fear, because I still have goals. Once I hit 700, I may start playing around in the gym, and who cares if I do something crazy and do something stupid, because I have an infinite time to heal up or never heal up. It doesn't really matter. So it's just a matter of what your goals are and how much of a risk you're willing to take. So I'm really noticing a trend here. So Instagram is very thirsty right now. Everybody wants me to show my chest, take my shirt off, do all sorts of weird things. And YouTube, I'm getting a lot of quality questions. So I'm going to just put a shout out to YouTube guys right now. Unless y'all start getting trolly, y'all are actually doing pretty well. Instagram, I'm kind of disappointed. I thought maybe I would have some actual questions. I didn't realize I was going to have to put a sex show on for you guys. Let's see. When does the Juarez Valley program come out? Never. If y'all don't know what the Juarez Valley 20 is, it's a very high volume push-up day where you start off. It's based on like Juarez Valley prisons and things like that, where if you don't have any weights, you have body weight, you don't have access to a weight room, you're incarcerated. Well, you start off in one side of your cell, you do 20 push-ups, you walk over to the other side of your cell, you do 1 push-up. You walk back, you do 19, you walk back the other way, you do 18 or 2. So basically you're switching from one side doing 20 starting with to ending on the other side with 20. You end up doing like 400 and something push-ups. And it sucks, especially after you do a full chest day. It's never when you're fresh. Any lower back? Let's see. As lower back arch increases, the leg drive decreases. Per Chad Wesley Smith. Okay, so let me think. Let me visualize this. Your lower back arch increases, leg drive decreases. Well, I have to agree somewhat with that. I mean, obviously, you don't want a McDonald's arch because now you're just increasing range of motion. Your leg drive really isn't that important. But you want tightness in your whole body when it comes to benching. And when it comes down to leg drive, I think a lot of people will hold on. There we go. So you've got leg drive, and then you've got over leg drive. So a lot of people will focus on their bench being their leg drive. You could literally put your feet up, and you should be able to do 60 to 70% of whatever your non leg drive bench is, and it shouldn't be that much of an issue. If you don't, it may be a balance issue, but it's definitely not the strength issue. It's definitely not the fact that you don't have your legs in. It's more of have the leg drive in. It's because you don't have the balance in. I started benching where my legs were out laterally more than anything, and I still bench that way quite a bit, where I'm making sure that I don't shift from left to right. Most of the time, because my shoulders and back are so big for most of these benches, I hang off the sides. And if the bar slightly gets out of balance, I don't want my strength to have to be the sole savior for that bar not going all the way over. I use my legs laterally to actually serve as kind of like the legs on a crane. They don't use the tires when a crane needs to pick something up. It actually picks up on these metal legs, and those legs go out to the side. So that's kind of how I envision my legs in a bench press. But when you are overly arched, you're actually losing the tightness that your natural arch is going to provide. So pyramid scheme workout, per workout, not really favorite of it, but per training cycle where you're not necessarily starting from the bottom and going up to the top, coming back down. You're just going to the top, but it's based on a pyramid where you're starting with a base and you're building on it all the way up. Interesting fact, 40% of people who regularly lift weights have a 40% less chance of getting cancer. Huh. I bet it's not anything to do with the weights. I bet it's everything to do with the fact that they're more active, more prone to eating right, more prone to drinking water, fluid intakes, vitamins, that they take care of themselves better. I bet that's the actual reason why they're 40% chance less of getting cancer, if that's correct. Drake, yes, that would have been definitely cool. I can tell you right now, Julius Maddox is in the best position to take the all-time world record down, obviously. I think he and Kirill will go back and forth unless I can get up there pretty quick. And it'll be interesting next few years for sure. Jesse, how big of jumps are my clients seeing? Well, I put out a survey the other day just because I want to get some solid results. I want to know for a fact, because I've heard anywhere from 20 pounds to 50 pounds on the bench press program. My online training clients see anywhere from a 50-pound to 100-pound increase in their totals within 12 weeks, and that's average. There's not a lot of extra fluff to that. I mean, it's just what it is. Now, there's a difference, obviously, between newbie gains, where you're not quite an experienced lifter, and you finally start lifting the right way and training the right way, and you have those automatic gains that are pretty easy to come by. But I also have a lot of guys who are in the 500-pound plus bench club. I have guys in the 1,600, 1,700, 1,800-pound total club that have added very similar type weights to their or pounds to their total or to their bench press. So it's hard to say what the average is. I'm trying to get those numbers so I can just put them out and say, okay, this is what the average is. But I can tell you one thing: I have had very few people, and I mean very few, that didn't either. They didn't get anything out of the program because they didn't stick with the program, which is, I mean, if you can't stick with it, you can't say that it didn't give you anything because you didn't give it a chance. Or I've had some people that will do the online coaching, but then they never actually, they never check in. They never say, this is what I'm doing, which is really weird. So that's why I'm real skittish about getting everybody, taking on extra people, because I want quality clients that are willing to work hard and get good results. But in a nutshell, I let my clients speak for themselves. If you are interested, I can definitely send you to a couple of posts of mine where people have commented their results. I can share with you some screenshots of messages. You feel free to reach out to any of those people if you're interested in, maybe seeing what it could do for you. When does the animal shirt come out with me benching like Dan Green's when he's deadlifting? I don't know. I bet if y'all reach out to Animal, they might be able, the more people that reach out, the better. Maddox says he's going to take the record and he almost talks as if he already has it. His confidence is extremely high. Well, I think it should be. I mean, if you saw the 722 attempt or 723 attempt at Boss of Bosses, had that been my lift, I don't miss a lockout like that, but I could see how he can miss a lockout because it's, there's definitely different types of lifters. My strength level is not at 723 for the full range of motion, but I cringed when I saw just how close he got to that. But the fact that he's right there, he wasn't peaked, which is a very, very key component to this. When he does peak, he will take 723. And I'm not the type to get behind any lifter just because they're who they are. I mean, I know Julius. I think we're friends. We can talk. We can chat about things. We have a very similar outlook and everything. But straight up as a lifter, thinking about how another lifter is performing, I don't see any doubt in my mind that he will take that record, which is why I always include him in my goal setting as well. I mean, obviously we're different weight classes, but as I'm wanting to go for the all-time record, well, if he takes the American record, I have to take his record from him. So it would become competitors at that point, for sure. But I think, sure, his confidence should be there. And that's also something that makes him lift better. If you don't have confidence that you're going to hit the lift, you might as well not be there. And yes, regarding Kirill, his 738, it did look pretty easy. I wouldn't say it looked easy. It looked flawless. Like, I think the technique was definitely there. That does not mean that there's more in the tank. I think there's a real fine line between the way a lift looks and the way if you could actually add more weight. I mean, typically you'd say yes, but let's say he could do 750. Well, he's still got to get back to 738. He's not there now. He's still got to train to get there. There's obviously always a chance for injury. So never count your chickens before they hatch. And I never get too cocky. You can be confident, but as soon as you start getting kind of asshole-ish is when I think things happen. I think he's got a level head, and I think he can do it, but you got to do it before you get credit for it. And that goes for anybody. That goes for myself included. I'm not a 700-pound bencher until I bench 700 pounds. And you can't say, James Strickland's going for 700, then he's going for 738. There's a lot of steps in between. So it is what it is. Andrea, yes, I would definitely recommend deloading, and I would probably do a deload. At least think about it once every 4 to 8 weeks, regardless of your strength level. Of course, going back on Kirill's lifts look like nothing comment. Here's the thing. Just because your lifts look like nothing doesn't mean you weren't trying. I also say this. Well, if your lifts look like nothing and they truly weren't that hard, then what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you token lift just to put up a number? Like, I don't know any competitor that's wanting to do that unless they're just wanting to win. But if you're going for a record, why not put up 750 if you can do it? He knew that 750 was a lofty number and he wanted to play it safe. So he added, what, 16 pounds to go for that record versus, you know, going for 750, which would be a nice round number. So it's really easy to sit back as a fan and say, well, he could have done this, but what if he would have gone for 750 and missed the lockout? Now he didn't have the all-time record, or he only gets, you know, a 10-pound increase versus a 15 or 20-pound increase. So it is, you know, at the end of the day, you still got to put the numbers up. Dominique, opinion on role of chest, delts, and triceps in the bench. They all play a role, and you need to train every one of them important, you know, as each is important in their own way. I would say, if I had to pick one, well, I can't even do that because I'm doing it for my own self. You know, I would train my chest first, my delts, and then my triceps, because my triceps are the strongest, but I am focusing on my weakness first. So focus on whatever's weakest on you, and then go basically hit your weakest point first. And so you have less energy later for your strengths, and you can actually hit them with whatever energy is left. But hit them all. You don't want to neglect any of them. I am currently benching one time a week, and I hit back roughly 4 to 5 times a week doing various exercises. Deloading through, I guess. Okay, so Andrea, to cover deloads again, basically a deload in its easiest to understand form is a week or a few days at minimum that you take to let yourself rest, but you're not just sitting around doing nothing. It's not a rest day. It's a deload day, meaning it's active recovery. So you still go to the gym. What I do is I mimic the exact same training. Maybe the reps are a little bit less from the previous week, but the weight is about 75%. So let's just say, just to make the math easy, I had 4 sets, and each set was, you know, I did 100 pounds on bench for 3 sets of 3. Then I did, you know, weighted dips for 50 pounds. I did tricep pulled or seal rows for 50 pounds. And I did, let's see, something else, seated rows. So everything that was 50 pounds, I'd knock back down to about 30 to 35 pounds. And then my 100-pound bench would be about 75 pounds on the next week. The following week, let's say week 5, I would go up back to 100 pounds or more. I'd probably go 105 pounds for 3x3, and then maybe 50 pounds for extra set or extra rep or extra set on the accessories. Or I would just increase the weight and go 55 pounds for whatever the reps were the previous week before the deload. So it's just an active recovery week is all it is. I love how literally all the top non-Russian benchers are under Bryant. Let me know how your deloads go. All right, I have reached the end of my questions. I will wait a couple minutes and take another one. And if not, I'll end it up. And if y'all haven't already, check out my last video, which is deload week 4. That will kind of explain how my deloads look. Of course, if you haven't followed my Road to 700 Pounds series, check that out as soon as this video is over. There is whole series. I've got week 4 right now on this particular series, and it will cover week 1 all the way up to whatever week I get to before I do my 700-pound bench. And it will cover my commentary of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I feel. So that's a good way to check that out. Like Andrea, if you want to check that out and see what a deload really is, that's what it is. I remember at 18, I was benching about 200 pounds. All right, good luck on your studying there. All right, well, I'm going to end up this video. If I missed your question, I apologize. There's a lot to go through. I had 2 different streams going. Feel free to shoot me a DM, or you can find me on Instagram at Swimhack. Shoot me a DM over there. Follow me over there if you're not already. You can definitely check out my bench programs, benchonly.com/training. And I've got some specials going on there. I do have a couple spots with online coaching. So if you are interested in that, or you think you might be able to utilize that or customize programming more than just a template, let me know. I've got a lot of great success with that. And I will let you guys know how things are going forward. And week 5 is on the horizon. Tomorrow I got 480, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Thanks for following me and subscribing to the channel. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and see you next time.